moving on to training techniques, and this is where I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on what works for your organizations. The first one I'm going to talk about is gamification. Process of using games, game mechanics, elements, and principles, and applying them to non-game context to engage users better and accelerate the learning process. So I know there's gamification strategies that are tied to like Candy Crush and some of these online games that it consumes a lot of our kids' times, frankly, maybe some of ours too. But when you have training elements that tied to things that are engaging, right? You're pushing buttons, you're seeing your score incrementally go up. Perhaps you're rewarded with prizes and things like that, that competitive nature in all of us. When you embed training into things like that, it drastically improves the overall effectiveness of it. So back to my accounting training that I have to take, which I have very little interest in taking, you know, perhaps if that was a game of some sort where I'm actually doing things, I'm moving things, I'm probably going to learn it a lot better. I'm probably going to be a little more intrigued by it, maybe a little more interested by it. And ultimately, that's going to improve the effectiveness of it. One of our clients is Headspace Health. So for those of you up in the Bay Area, you may know of Headspace. They have a mental health app. And I know this isn't really cybersecurity related, but they've got a mental health app that does a lot of gamification techniques. Their customers learn some of the things around mental wellness and behaviors to make their online app much more effective. The next is role-based training or role-playing scenarios. This one's probably the one that's the most uncomfortable because this requires human interaction. You're not on your phone working your way through training. This is, you know, one-on-one or, you know, in a small group of people where you've got a scenario, or the way I've seen it most often is you've got a scenario and everybody's discussing how to work through that scenario to make sure that data isn't leaked, or, you know, you're not giving, you know, you're not falling victim to a social engineering attack, things like that. So role-based training is an active learning strategy that requires participants to perform realistic scenarios under the supervision of a trainer or facilitator. I've got a couple examples here for you guys. The first, I'm skipping down to the bottom, is Accenture about 5, 6, 7 years ago released a Hackerland series. It was internal. I was doing some work for them, got to see it. It was really, really cool, well done training that was done over a series, kind of like your typical sitcom. But it was very, very compelling. And again, well done. They won a bunch of awards for it, but it required interaction with their end users, not only through the actual training series itself, but as departments, they would then meet and walk through the concepts that they learned. They would kind of incorporate some of these role-based scenarios where they had to react. They would debrief at the end. They'd have note takers, what was handled well, what wasn't handled well, how do we course correct that? So a really effective training mechanism for Accenture.